This video has spoilers for Pokémon Legends Z-A. If that's something that bothers you, we do not recommend that you watch it. Hello everyone, I'm Mari.
I'm Marti.
And welcome to our Legends Z-A review, and
in this video we're also going to see if our predictions for the game were correct.
Once again, as we talk about the game, we'll have drawings related to the game playing in the background. And before we get to anything about the game itself, we'd also like you to know that these were our teams and characters for Pokémon Legends Z-A. We'll start by looking back at the predictions we did at the start of the year. So, my first prediction back then was that Jet and Vinny would not be our allies forever. So they would have a similar role to Kamado in Legends Arceus. So Jet and Vinny would be our allies but would turn their back on us during the final act of the game. Well, this did not happen. It was false, my friends. It did not happen. Jet and Vinny were pretty much our allies throughout the whole game, but Jet ended up not having a bigger presence as the one I hoped throughout the main story, the plot of the game. Vinny really surprised me because I really thought that he was gonna be a villain, because I think he's very, very similar. Like, it's uncanny how similar he is to Team Flare in terms of his overall character design and style, but especially to Lysander.
My first prediction was that the starters were gonna have regional forms and not Mega Evolutions. Looking back at this, I kinda disagree. I totally understand why we didn't have any new Pokemon and only had new Megas. It makes sense because, X and Y were the first games that introduced us to the Mega Evolution concept and this new kind of gimmicks that would end up following the rest of the franchise in the later games. So yeah, I totally understand why they did Mega Evolutions instead of regional forms. I think regional forms worked way better in Legends Arceus because, it's in the past, so it's Pokemon we've never seen before. And yeah, the Mega Evolutions themselves, they're kinda hit or miss. I totally understand why people didn't like them. Ember is cool, don't get me wrong. I think Feraligatr has a really cool concept, but I think it was executed in a poorly done way. And Meganium, as much as I would say that it is my favorite one, because, well, I am a huge Meganium fan, and I'm so happy it got to become a fairy type with its flowery glory. I do understand that, well, it's very simple, and I wish it changed more, like, in the appearance. Again, with, like, exaggerated proportions, I think we've done a great job, like, having a really long neck, kind of like a dinosaur. I don't know. The Megas are cool, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I totally understand why people don't like them.
Ember was my favorite out of the starters' Mega Evolutions, but I actually chose Totodile for my gameplay, so I do agree that the execution of the concept was poorly done, and I also have seen many different pieces of fan art that executed it better than what we have in the game, but anyway. My second prediction was that the main villain would have a similar plan to Lysander's plan during the XY games, so we would have a main villain that would use the ultimate weapon to do something. Well, I was kinda wrong, because we didn't really have a villain in this game. We had a weapon that was causing trouble across Lumio City and that had to be stabilized by not only us, the players, but also our Team MZ that goes along with us throughout the gameplay of the game.
I am happy that Jet wasn't the main villain, honestly. I feel like she would have been just like a Rose 2.0 if that was the case. I do think that she should have had a bigger role when it comes to the main story. And even with Quasartico Inc. not being the main villains per se, they still kind of low-key are a little bit of a bad company because they're like inserting wild zones in a lot of places that feel very disproportional, like a cemetery where people mourn their loved ones. It's kinda disrespectful. So yeah, I'm just happy that they didn't go with the whole, oh, they're the evil company that's causing all of this route, because it would have been really generic.
I do think it's really interesting that Legends Z-A touches upon companies running a city and doing development plans that end up not being as beneficial as they initially thought. So I don't necessarily think that Jet and Vinny and Quasartico Inc. had very bad intentions with their redevelopment plan for Lumio City, but the execution was not great. And some other things you see across the game that end up not making Lumios a city that can be good for both people and Pokemon. They end up separating Pokemon and people than actually uniting them.
Which is totally understandable when you then see characters like Ivor wanting to abolish wild zones. There needs to be some control over where the Pokemon should go because there are dangerous Pokemon out there that are contained by the wild zones. But at the end of the day, is that really good? My second prediction was that we're going to see a new letter A legendary. So this didn't really happen, but we do know what the A of Z-A is referring to. Not only it's, the rank Z to A, it's kind of like AZ but backwards, but also refers to the Prism Tower, whose name is actually NG. And we also get to fight as the final boss, the NG Floette, in which Floette ends up taking control of the Prism Tower, but it completely goes out of control. And honestly, NG Floette has got to be one of the creepiest Game Freak designs. And also, I would dare say that it is way creepier than the final form Eternatus takes in one of the final bosses of Sword and Shield. And also maybe the Ultra Necrozma from the Sun and Moon games. I'm blithely surprised they didn't go with the new legendary Pokemon, but oh well, things could change with the DLC, who knows.
My third prediction was that we were gonna learn more about the Pokemon board that happened in the past when AZ originally used the ultimate weapon. While this is true, we did not learn every single detail, but we learned so many new things about it, and I was pleasantly, not surprised, but satisfied with what we learned. That AZ, again, we can already know this, that he used the ultimate weapon to conduct a genocide that ended the war, but the weapon also gave life back to his Floette, and Floette was actually his late mother's partner, so it was his last living memory of his family.
And we also gotta keep in mind that we also don't know who AZ's younger brother is, who is mentioned in the original game, and we do know that Lysander was apparently a descendant from said younger brother, but we never get to see who he was. So I wonder if that will only be revealed maybe in the future, or something like that. My third prediction was that we were going to meet returning characters from the Pokémon X and Y games. At the time that the video was recorded, we had only seen AZ. Ever since, we then found out that Mabel, a former Team Flare member, was also gonna appear as the acting director of the Pokemon Research Lab, that Emma was gonna appear as the now detective of Lumio City, and then we also had characters like Lida, who is apparently implied to be the younger sister of Tierno, one of the original friends that our protagonist had in the X and Y games, so it was really refreshing seeing the wave of new characters like Gwen, Ivor, Canary, etc., and then the characters like AZ, who had such a heartbreaking story. I was not expecting the ending to be like that.
And my last prediction was one that I heavily stood by until the very end of the promotions of Legends Z-A before its release, and it was that Lysander is actually alive. So many people doubted me, many friends said I was crazy, but I was correct. Lysander is alive. Lysander returns in Pokémon Legends Z-A, but he lost his memory because of the damage the ultimate weapon had upon Team Flare's headquarters, and he was saved by Zygarde. That's why he's alive. And also, he became an immortal human just like AZ. He mentions this more clearly, I guess, in the post-game, when he says that one of his last conversations with AZ was about how terrible or intriguing it is to be unable to die. So yeah, Lysander became an immortal human and followed AZ's steps.
I'm really happy Lysander wasn't the villain, or in this case, L, as is being called in the game. I do think that his redemption arc was really well done. I'm happy they didn't just go, yeah, you almost killed the whole entire region, but now you're a good guy, so everything is justified kind of route, because that would have been a little weird,
obnoxious.
He's not a good person. At the end of the day, he's also done many mistakes and many bad things like AZ, and I'm really happy they didn't go with villainizing AZ, because throughout the game we also meet some of the other former Team Flare members like Grisel and Grisham, who end up saying, oh, AZ was this evil villain because he created the ultimate weapon. AZ is a bad person, but your leader and you guys were also evil, so it's this two different visions, I guess, aligning and kind of clashing against each other, and I really like when stories do that, when it's clear that they don't really agree with neither side and they have time to explore all the characters and their different motivations and goals.
That was probably the part that I liked the most about the game. The overall world building and story. So how the characters get involved in social conditions, the conditions of Lumio City, and the people who live in it and what exactly is happening behind the scenes of not only Quasartigo Inc.'s actions, but also things like, again, Team Flare members still being bitter about what happened during the XY games and defending what Lysander did and was planning on doing with the ultimate weapon, which was basically repeating AZ's mistake and conducting a genocide just because he wanted people to agree with him, and that the world did not deserve people who disagreed with him because everyone did not agree with his beautiful world. But it wasn't a beautiful world, you get what I mean? Like, you kind of see this thing about characters defending each other's horrible actions and then other characters being like, nah, you're all evil, stop trying to make excuses for your actions, and then the overall conclusion of the story is so good.
And my last prediction was, well, the simplest one, honestly, in which we were going to see new Mega Evolutions. I specifically mentioned the Kalos starters. It ended up being true, but not in a really good way because they're kind of locked behind a paywall because of the ranked ZA battles. I thankfully got my hands on a Greninjite and now have a Mega Greninja, but after I finished the game, the new Megas, I think they're all very hit or miss, but they have a really nice and very differentiated lineup, you could say. There's some Megas I've seen people dislike, like Starmie and Clefable, and I totally understand, but they still have a lot of personality, even with their flaws. And we even got to see these new Megas in the form of being the main partner Pokemon of some of the new characters, like Bane, who had a Dragalge, even Grisel, who I mentioned previously, having a Pyroar. The new Megas are definitely very interesting. I think they all give a lot of new perspective and personality to some Pokemon that honestly deserve some attention. Like Barbaricle's new Mega Evolution is crazy, Frostlass's Mega Evolution is gorgeous. Like, a lot of the new Megas, yeah, I totally understand why people wish some of them were different or that they didn't like them, and I'm happy they went with the lineup of Mega Evolutions we had. Again, with the Mega Dimension DLC, we might get a lot of other new Mega Evolutions, like the Raichu X and Y ones, and even maybe get to know more about Hoopa, so who knows, maybe it is not the end of the Mega Evolutions of this new generation of Pokemon.
I agree. I think that there were a lot of Mega Evolutions that were very disliked by the community, but that I actually loved. Like, for example, the whole controversy that Dragonite did across the community after it was revealed, and also my favorite new Mega Evolution, which was Malamar. Many people were pissed off at Malamar's Mega Evolution, but I had a Malamar on my team. I love Malamar. Malamar is my friend, guys. I swear I am not being controlled right now by a Malamar, but I just love it. Like, it was everything I wished for and I wanted, and I loved the promotions for all of the Mega Evolutions. For example, Victreebel was also pretty hated by many people, and it really grew on me. Like, Victreebel is actually so goofy and scary at the same time, and off-putting, so it's perfect, and I feel like many of the Mega Evolutions are that way. My least favorite was definitely Starmie's Mega Evolution. I understand the concept behind it, but I feel like it could have been executed in a better way, but anyway, that's my opinion.
There were also some other Mega Evolutions that really surprised me. Scolipede had Skarmory, like, gets this golden color that looks so cool. We're going up, so Then we had other Mega Evolutions like, Zygarde, that was really crazy, Drampa, Phalanx, a lot of Pokemon that honestly deserved Mega Evolutions more in the sense of like giving it a chance to shine. We had other Megas like, Electros, Crafty, Chandelure. I'm really happy with the lineup we got, and I really hope we get to see more new Megas in the DLC that probably will come out maybe sooner or later than we expect, I'm still not sure.
Before we finish this video, we just want to talk about the game itself overall and some of the things that we did not mention. So, a thing I really want to say is the controversial and infamous windows and balconies that are getting everyone talking on the internet about how shitty the game is. So, I think the models of the human characters in the Pokemon are excellent. Overall, the textures and models for hair, Pokemon, metallic surfaces look very good. But then, the game has a major flaw in my opinion, which is that the city kind of looks a bit too cheap. Like, it doesn't really fit how incredible some of the characters in Pokemon look, and then I feel like some buildings are way better in quality and quality, when I say quality, I'm talking about the models, than some others. So like the overall apartments and I guess houses look very cheap. The balconies and windows being PNG textures, so image textures applied onto 3D models, but then you have the cafes that I absolutely love and I think they look so great. And things like Wasartico Inks' building and the Prism Tower, you get what I mean? Like some of the environments don't really they're not consistent in terms of quality and look, and that really brings down some of the world building and experience of the game.
In terms of graphics, I think Game Freak still has a long way to go. They definitely should try and do better in that aspect. And it really ruins the game, you know, because I genuinely loved Legends Z-A. I think the story is really well written, the characters have a lot of personality, and the ending, listen, I'm gonna spoil it here. If you didn't get it, we're spoiling the whole entire game already. This is like your sign to turn around. Listen, AZ's death, I was not expecting that, genuinely. Like, we finish the game, we defeat Angie Floette, blah blah, and then we're just cut to his literal grave. Like, me and Marty started crying, absolute river of tears. I was not expecting it to hit so hard. Like, yes, AZ is the good person, he did a lot of mistakes, but seeing that, the fact that he took his last breath right as we literally saved the world from this big evil calamity, it's so heartbreaking, and honestly, it really just shows how well written AZ is. Yeah, overall, my opinion about the game, it's been really fun to explore the city, but yeah, I do understand where people are saying that the buildings and the overall look cheap and not really good. It could be better, and I really hope Game Freak ends up like getting better, you know, at this kind of deal. Yeah, the game, maybe I will give it maybe an 8 out of 10. I am now playing the post game, and I think I'm now on the part where I have to capture Zygarde. I still have not been able to beat him, but yeah, the game is really cool. I loved it. It being better than Legends Arceus, I'm still not sure. I still haven't finished Legends Arceus. Overall, the game is really good, but it definitely needed some improvements in a lot of.
I'd also like to point out that the new battle system, the real-time battling, was one of the most positive aspects of the game, one of the best things they could have done. I am a sucker for turn-based battling systems in video games. Seeing these like real-time battles throughout the game was a pleasant surprise. I really like them, even though they put you under stress in some way, because you can't really strategize and plan exactly how you want the battle to go. You just gotta go. You don't have time to think about what you're doing. You gotta be more intuitive. I'd also like to mention again AZ's death, because it was pretty much foreshadowed throughout the game if you think about it, because when AZ says that Floette returned to him because she expects him to pay for his sins and for the crimes he committed, it's like, okay, Floette is waiting patiently until he dies to get a conclusion on the bad things he did, even though he's trying to remedy everything he did.
AZ even mentions that the Hotel Z was supposed to be his last resting place, so it really like tells you that he is expecting to die. Despite being like 3,000 years old and immortal, he knew that his time was coming. I mean, how long will he live for when he's already like, you know, done so much bad things and honestly has gone through way much stuff that honestly, him handling it all alone by himself for all those years until Team MZ came in and ended up giving him a hope for the new world that he ended up watching grow, and, you know, all the bad and the good that happens. It's really heartbreaking, it really is.
Again, AZ mentions that his human body is not handling the fact that he's becoming 3,000, that he already surpassed 3,000 years old. So it's that really weird thing of, okay, now Lysander is also an immortal human, but they're not really immortal. They can live up until a certain age, until their human bodies start giving up and start dying, and that's what happened with AZ in this game.
And that's it for this video!
Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you support the channel by subscribing and doing all of that stuff.
Bye!
Bye!